Karabo, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you very, very much.
A really big deal, but
Yes.
I'm sure everybody that is watching this is wondering, oh, okay, who is this lady and why was she chosen amongst the upper echelons of, you know, the young leaders according to the World Economic Forum? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm Karabo Morule, South African. I'm born and bred here in Johannesburg, and have lived and worked in the financial services for over 13 years or so. And I work at Old Mutual right now. Have been in the business since 2010, and working as the managing director for Old Mutual Personal Finance, which focuses on the retail segment and the middle market in particular. So we as Old Mutual, I think it is very much linked with what my ethos is also around, is really trying to see what we can do in terms of the impact that we can drive in the markets in which we operate. And that's very much linked with, I think, the idea around the Young Global Leaders and the Forum for Young Global Leaders. So it was started by Klaus Schwab, who's the founder of the World Economic Forum, in 2004. And it really seeks to find like-minded and socially minded leaders from all sectors of business, be it in business, government, civil society, and from around the world. And each year there's 100 which are selected from the thousands which apply through quite a rigorous process.
Tell us about that process. So you apply and what's the criteria?
It's actually through a qualified nomination. So there is a website where you can nominate, but usually they also try to seek nominees from other young global leaders and from other sectors of society. And you actually go through a rigorous process where it's the Forum for Young Global Leaders team that actually assess the nominations as well. There's a selection committee as well as a search firm that's actually involved before it gets vetted and then it gets announced. So it's really quite exciting in terms of just the variety of people who are there. It's great to have 2 South Africans who have been nominated for this year. Sure. The other is Unati Kamlana, who's at the South African Reserve Bank, and the others are really wonderful people who are focused in mostly tech. There's some people who are in agriculture, a lot of people who are really powering the innovation in the continent. And I think this is what's great, and it links so much with also the work that I do at Old Mutual.
Sure.
Very focused on financial inclusion and really thinking quite differently in terms of how we can empower the well-being of the people whose lives we touch, really driving shared value. And you can see that very much in also the ethos that the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders are driving. There's 3 really big objectives. One is about action and impact. The second is about collaboration and community and leveraging each other in terms of thinking about how we can drive each other to do much better for the world. And the third is about learning and leadership.
Okay.
So we actually get access to leadership programs at top universities from around the world and get invited to attend Davos and other summits as well, like World Economic Forum Africa.
Very, very nice. But Karabo, okay, talk to us about your role.
Yes.
In your job,
yeah.
What are you doing to drive financial inclusion? So the day-to-days, and
yes.
what are you doing to, you know, create the sustainable future that the World Economic Forum desires to achieve?
Yeah. In South Africa, it's really about making sure that people have access to advice and financial education. In South Africa in particular, you have the construct where there's a lot of people who are excluded from financial services before. People don't appreciate that, you know, the impact that long-term savings can have on an individual, protecting one's life and one's fortunes can have in terms of the impact it can have on a family. So Old Mutual, we're building the best financial advice business for middle-income South Africans through our focus on long-term savings, investment and protection business. And we really want to do this by being our customers' most trusted partner, helping them to achieve their lifetime financial goals.
But is it that people don't appreciate the value of savings or appreciate the benefits that this brings, or that simply maybe they don't know enough about this, or that they simply can't afford to, given the economy that we live in right now?
So I think it is maybe a combination of all of those elements, but the key element that we really want to make sure is people are empowered to make the decisions that they can. So I'm really proud in the sense that we've launched a platform called Moneyversity. It's available on moneyversity.co.za, and people can then access financial education digitally. And it's been great to get the feedback from so many people who feel like it's actually changed how they think about money, and it can empower them to make better financial decisions. Accessing financial advice is also really important. Many people think it's something for the rich, and actually we make it very, very accessible. We have some, across Old Mutual, some 6,000 financial advisors who are there to partner with our customers to get them the solutions that they need for their financial futures and what they can do to actually change their lives. And we feel like it's really important to get that advice. So we've actually now enabled it digitally. You can actually find a button on oldmutual.co.za called Find an Advisor. And actually you can find somebody who's there to partner with you to really look after the solutions that you will assist you in terms of your financial wellness.
Sure. So I I imagine that bridging the gender inequality gap then is a big thing as well, and you are recognized because of the senior role that you occupy there at your place of work. So a number of women that we speak to in finance always talk about how difficult it is to get finance from traditional banks. So I'm interested, perhaps, is this something that you're also looking to change in your line of work, the financial inclusion of women specifically?
Yes, and it is about finding out who are the people who are the groups who you think have been excluded from financial services, and what can we do to focus on that. And it is, yes, women, it is young people as well. And there's an element of it where it is about helping people to understand what financial services think about when they're assessing somebody for financing and how they can improve that. What is really great is we have tools also like 24/7. It's actually free, it's available, you can sign up. And it's great because it helps a person to understand what their budget looks like, and to make it empowers people to make better financial decisions about what they're spending on, to enable them to get that short surplus, which then enables them to get better funding. I've heard some great testimonials. There was one lady who was, 40,000 rands in debt, and over a 6-month period was able to get out of debt because she actually used 24/7 to help her understand her budget. So there, it does talk to the fact that actually we are using these tools, and Old Mutual is really passionate about making these tools accessible through financial education, not necessarily just digitally, but also face-to-face. We appreciate that actually one of the things from a technology perspective is that we always worry that it might exclude people who don't have access to the technology. And we're very mindful of that, and that's why we actually do also provide face-to-face workshops which help people with financial education through our award-winning program called On the Money.
Well, of course, to achieve all of this, one thing that will be very important is good leadership. And there's been a little bit of a crisis when it comes to good leadership, both in the public and private sector here in South Africa. So I'd like to understand what is important to you, because you're essentially a leader right now. You've been recognized as a young leader right now. What's important to you in terms of leadership, and what can we hold you accountable for as a World Economic Forum young global leader?
Yes, so leadership at work, I think it really is about understanding the people who we're working with. I think that's one of the great things that our CEO has articulated for Old Mutual in terms of also related to our homecoming story around the war for talent. But it also is about a focus in terms of the young global leaders really being minded about the social impact that we can drive. And for me, I think that leadership element is about making sure I bring the African voice in particular to the forum. I think it's about entrusting the fact that actually on the African continent we have really great innovations and great innovators. I think it's about making sure we're also shaping the agenda for inclusion in the context of the 4th Industrial Revolution. And I attended a forum event on Wednesday, actually, when the announcement was made. And it was great to acknowledge the many voices from other young global leaders and other global shapers who were in the room, who are very concerned about making sure that Africa doesn't get left behind, and so addressing some of the infrastructure backlog that we have. And that's what's great also about what financial services does, is that these long-term savings can enable that infrastructure to occur. And Old Mutual is a leader in the space of infrastructure investment. But also it is about making sure that we appreciate and acknowledge the role that we have to play from an innovation perspective. We really understand that we have the power to really leapfrog and really find the solutions to many of the challenges that we're facing as a continent, but as the world. And I think it's great to understand that actually Africans really have a great space and a great voice to add to the global narrative around how our world needs to be shaped.